In just 7 years, Yemen, a small country in the Middle East, has witnessed a conflict which seems not to end. What started out as a reformist movement to oust a corrupt government has now become a multi-party conflict with various forces at play, each for their own geopolitical gains. The crisis in Yemen started when thousands of people took to the streets to protest against the corrupt, inefficient government of President Ali Abdullah Saleh as part of the 2011 Arab Spring. Saleh was in power since the creation of Yemen in 1990 and had failed to curb sectarian tensions in addition to curbing the spread of Al-Qaeda in Arabian Peninsula. Finally, Saleh stepped down in October 2012 after a failed assassination attempt and pressure from the Houthis, a Zaidi Shia population in Yemen consisting of 35% of the total population, along with Saudi Arabia calling for peace talks. He was replaced by his vice president Abdurrabur Mansour al-Hadi. However, 2 years passed, there was no reform. The separatist southern movement crystallized and the Houthis above all else were unhappy that they were not properly represented in Hadi's cabinet. Besides, Al-Qaeda was able to establish its grip in eastern Yemen. Houthis, already in control of their base in northwest Yemen, allied with Saleh and together started expanding in the south and reached Sana'a, the capital itself. The internally divided Hadi government immediately made inroads by negotiations with the Houthi rebels to form a unity government. However, the unity government fell apart after the dispute over the choice of the prime ministerial candidate, with both sides being stubborn in their assertions. The Houthis, seizing the opportunity, seized control of Sana'a and shelled the president's palace, arresting the president in the process. However, Hadi escaped later to Aden and then from there to Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia and Gulf Cooperation Council condemned this as a coup and imposed a naval economic blockade except for food aid. Saudi Arabia, afraid of Iranian aggression, accused the latter of supplying arms and ammunition to the Houthi rebels, and in response formed a 9-member Arab coalition to force the Houthis to give in and reinstate the internationally recognized government of President Hadi, thus starting a civil war. They received logistical support from US and UK, who are fighting the Al-Qaeda in the region. After a string of defeats by an under-equipped but experienced Houthi army, Saudi Arabia launched airstrikes, bombing hundreds of schools, hospitals and even funerals in the process, killing more than 2,200 people. In 2017, Saleh followed a diplomatic approach for peace talks with Hadi but was killed in retaliation by the Houthis. Meanwhile, the UN embargo strengthened as sale of weapons and arms to the Houthis was prohibited. The coalition was only successful in pushing the rebels from Aden to the gates of Taiz. Aden became the center of a weak Hadi government, while Sana'a remained in rebel hands. Meanwhile, in the same year, a new enemy appeared as Southern Transitional Council, offshoot of the Southern Movement, started capturing key territories in southern Yemen, including Aden. It is backed by the UAE, which seeks to distance itself from the Saudi-led coalition and claims to secure key areas in Yemen from Al-Qaeda. According to UN, this complex war has caused staggering loss of life and property, with more than 10,000 dead since the start of the conflict in 2015. Other than that, 3 million people have been internally displaced and a further 7 million are starving and around 800,000 are infected by cholera. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has called Yemen the world's worst humanitarian crisis, and the conflict seems